What's up, Ronin Renegades? I'm Lupine Fiasco, and this is Daily FaB Gameplay. Today we're going to look at a Katsu game. For anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games that I have played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thought process for the lines that I would take now, which we compare to what I did at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like Battle Hardens, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check this list out or try it for yourself on Talishar, the FaB deck link is available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you daily FaB gameplay Discord access. Your name will be listed in every DFG video. There are bonus episodes coming later in January, and there are even more bonuses to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can't afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Back to this game, let's talk about our sideboard and our game plan. Against Katsu, we are going to choose to go
second.
And I'm trying something new today at the recommendation of a few FaB players whose opinions I really trust. We're trying Emberblade and Pouncing Lynx in the Katsu matchup, just to see what happens. Historically, I've been running Kodachi Momentum in this matchup. Ninja does not block very well. Katsu is no exception. His armor is not very good at blocking, though it can block Kodachis long enough for Katsu to set up his big combo line and deal a ton of damage to us. So we're going to try flipping the script and hitting him with our big Art of War, Spreading Flames, double finisher turn with Pouncing Lynx and Snapdragon Scalers before he can do the same to us. I can't guarantee that this is the way to play the matchup. It may be better to stick with Kodachi Momentum when we get to go second. It may be better to only utilize this plan when we have to go first. But I want to try it in this game just as sort of a proof of concept. Because we are on Emberblade Pouncing Lynx, we are making a few swaps. Bleed outs are coming out for That All You Got. We are cutting our Ravenous Rabbles and 1 copy of Double Strike for our Sink Blows. This is another decision that I don't know if it's correct, only because we are on this Art of War plan, and drawing multiple or even one defense reactions from an Art of War can kill our tempo, kill our ability to execute this big Art of War double finisher line. But it's something I'm experimenting with. If you've been playing FaB for a while, especially against Katsu, you know that we are unfavored in this matchup. FaB does not block very well, and Katsu really preys on aggro decks that either don't want to or can't block his Surging Strikes or his Whelming Gust Waves. So we are going to stick with the defense reactions. I've been running D-reacts against Katsu for some time. That All You Got as a way to punish Kodachis or even yellow Descendant Gust Wave are a great card to play. So we are going to use it here. As far as the game plan, I've touched on it a bit, but we are trying not to block as much as we can when we don't have a defense reaction at the ready or an extraneous 3-block in hand. We can give our Furnace and our Shuko early if we need to, but because Katsu has Breaking Scales and Ancestral Empowerment, blocking for exact damage is never recommended if you can avoid doing it. If you get attacked by a Whelming Gust Wave for 4, you probably want to block it for 5. If you get attacked by a Be Like Water for 3, you probably want to block it for 4. Or you could just not block at all. The advice I give to FaB players in the Katsu matchup is if you block the Surging Strike, be prepared to block whatever comes after it, because if Katsu naturally has the Whelming Gust Wave follow-up, you're gonna want to stop that from hitting, especially if you blocked the Surging Strike. We're assuming Katsu doesn't have bonds. They would be able to Katsu off of the Whelming, which is especially bad if they draw into a zero-cost card. So more often than not, we just aren't blocking Surging Strike. We're saving our follow-up blocking for the Whelming Gust Wave, or, in the case of this game, if we have the 5-card Art of War ready to go, we probably aren't blocking at all. So let's get into the game, and we'll see how all of this comes together. We draw into a decent enough hand for blocking. I never recommend blocking the first Kodachi. We want to play around Katsu having a Surging Strike or a Whelming that we need to block. Here we are going to get Double Strike out of our hand. It is the least impactful card in that hand. And if we draw into a blue, then this hand is great. Here we are going to block with the Bittering Thorns. If we don't draw into a blue, a 1-cost attack is just pretty awkward. We see that we would have drawn into the blue, but we also draw into a Bittering Thorns. So as far as sequencing goes, we would like to lead with the Bittering. We want to play it as early as we can because of this Ancestral Empowerment. So we're hoping that Katsu does some blocking here, which it looks like he is going to. That lets us Ancestral over the top. So we're going to know exactly what our turn looks like. As far as playing out the rest of this hand, I would like to set a card in Arsenal. So it really comes down to what that card is. Playing Rising Resentment here is the more aggressive, riskier line. If we Arsenal this Blaze Headlong, there isn't a guarantee that we draw a red card with Natural Go Again in our next hand. We may have to do a lot of blocking. We may need to use our Snapdragons prematurely. Playing the Blaze Headlong is the safer line. We Arsenal a Rising Resentment, but if we draw into an Art of War and a red card with Go Again in our next hand, we would have rather had the Blaze Headlong to try to push some breakpoints for Pouncing Links to get a bigger Salt the Wound. So what I'd like doing this early in the game is playing the Blaze. We'll Blaze Headlong for 4, Emberblade for 3. Another consideration is playing the Rising Resentment to get our third Draconic Link, which is going to let us use FaB to pick up and play our Phoenix Flame, but I'm more of a fan of just setting up the 5-card hand for the future. So I like Blaze Headlong, Emberblade, pass. It isn't what I choose to do, which is fine. We are playing the Rising Resentment for 4. We're not going to banish to the Resentment, of course. We're not breaking Pouncing Links. We are just going to Emberblade for 3, Arsenal our Blaze, and ship it back to Katsu. Drawing into kind of a weird one here. The Art of War this early is great, but we don't want to pitch it to play our 1-cost attacks. The most we're really looking at doing here is E-Strike, Go Again, Blaze Headlong, Arsenal, and Art of War. It's just awkward. What I am really looking to do with this hand is probably block. Blocking with a 2-block attack doesn't sound very appealing, but if we can E-Strike for 5, Go Again, Blaze Headlong from Arsenal, then Arsenal this Art of War, that's our highest value line. And we care about that high value because we don't really even have a way to utilize this hand on offense. If Katsu were to just ship it back to us, our highest value line is probably pitch E-Strike for Mounting Anger, pitch Bittering Thorns to Furnace for Emberblade, then Blaze Headlong, then Phoenix Flame. It's fine, but Katsu is going to force us to block. So if nothing else, we're either blocking with one of these 2 power attacks or everything from our hand. So how I like blocking this Descendant is using Furnace and Bittering Thorns. We block for 4. That covers the breaking scales. So if Katsu also has Ancestral Empowerment, then it's a wash for us. He is going to get his triggers. But we block 4. We can still play out our 9 damage line. We have E-Strike and Mounting Anger available to block more. So I like using the Furnace early here. I agree at the time of this game, blocking with the Mounting Anger instead, it doesn't matter. I think maybe it's a slight value loss as far as we are going to break Pouncing Links at some point. We will shuffle our deck, so we are down a Draconic starter that might impact our ability to give the Emberblade go again, but overall, I wouldn't call this a game-losing mistake. It's maybe just a little lost value. Command and Conquer here is unfortunate, but we aren't losing very much damage by losing this Blaze Headlong. Without the Blaze Headlong, we'll E-Strike for 7, bottoming Bittering Thorns and arsenaling Art of War, so we aren't going to worry about blocking this CNC. We are just going to take 6, we will respond with 7, and set up for the future. Katsu only has 4 cards in hand, so it's possible that he would have a very explosive turn here, but I don't think it's going to be 31 damage explosive. Meanwhile, we can absolutely deal more than 25 with a 5-card Art of War Pouncing Links turn. Drawing into the second Art of War here is a little tragic. We would have preferred a blue, of course. As far as blocking this Surging Strike, we just can't with this hand. We have a non-block and we have 3 2-blocks. So, like I said, I would rather block what comes after the Surging Strike, but it's also likely that I'm not blocking anything this turn. I'm just going to fire off Art of War and kind of hope it works out. Katsu finds the Whelming Gust Wave here. We are going to take this. Again, we can't really block this very well. We could give 2 cards from hand and Furnace. We could block with Furnace, Shuko, and Snatch. But what does that do for us? We're giving up a lot of resources to respond with not a very good turn. Rising Resentment, pitch Art of War for Emberblade, Blaze Headlong, Phoenix Flame is an 11 damage line. If Katsu has the Ancestral, it's a huge blowout for us. We would rather just let him take this turn. The Whelming Gust Wave rather than Descendant Gust Wave is also a strong motivator for me to just take the damage. We know that Katsu has multiple Dishonors in his graveyard, so if this was Descendant and Katsu is going to be able to get the Dishonor effect of turning off our hero power, maybe I'm more committed to blocking with this hand, but overall, this is just raw damage. The Whelming Gust Wave draws a card, but that card only translates into damage. Katsu, in fact, does not have the bonds, so this 100 wins just leads into a Fluster Fist. It's a big damage line from Katsu, but we can also imagine what it would be like to take 5 more points of damage this turn if that 100 wins had been a bonds, and that bonds had found a Dishonor, and that Dishonor had drawn into a Fluster Fist with the Breeze Rider boots. We're at, what, 13 here, maybe even 8? That's fine, because look at this hand. We're going to lead with a Snatch. We are hoping to get a 3-block and Breeze Rider boots from Katsu, or a Sink Below, or a Flick Flack. We'll Art of War over the top of the block, then use our Snapdragons. We draw 2 cards from the Art of War. We draw a card from the Snatch. We've played a red card this turn, so our Blaze Headlong has go again. This is going to be a really explosive turn from us. And there really isn't anything Katsu can do about it, so we took a bunch of damage. We can even imagine a world where we took more damage, but we are going to respond in kind. Taking the safer line here of Rising Resentment rather than Snatch, that's going to save our Snapdragon Scalers, which is nice if we draw into a finisher. Salt the Wound, Lava Burst, or another Snatch is all good. As far as sequencing for the rest of this turn, we are just going to play out the hand. We have a floating resource and a Draconic attack in hand. Our FaB activation is going to cost 1, so Double Strike, Blaze Headlong, Phoenix Flame, leading into Snatch. We'll snap the Snatch, and at some point along this chain, we are going to break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to find Salt the Wound. So what I'm tempted to do here is break Pouncing Lynx early to grab Salt to bait blocks from Katsu. I want to open the door for this Snatch to hit, and if I break Pouncing Lynx for Salt now, Katsu is more incentivized to block to prevent the Salt from growing out of hand. Usually I would wait until at least Chain Link 3 to break Pouncing Lynx for Salt, because I would want to know if my Salt is going to get more value than a Lava Burst would. But here, I do want to break it early, and we'll see if I'm going for it. I am playing very safe here, and maybe this is just to make sure I'm getting my value, but I would have liked to force Katsu to block, or at least incentivize him to do so. So we see that he is blocking, but I would have liked for him to start doing that earlier in the turn. If Katsu blocks out entirely early, that opens the door for us to Snatch sooner, which maybe changes the way our turn looks. Snatch draws into a blue. This blue is worth 2 if we play it. It's worth 3 if we pitch it. So we are going to pitch it to the Emberblade. With Salt the Wound, it's worth 4 points of damage. So arsenaling it really is not a consideration here. Huge damage. We put Katsu down to 3. We draw into a hand that easily does 6 points of damage, considering Katsu's life total and available armor block. So we are going to get cards from Katsu's hand. We are going to get his armor. I'm not expecting to win this turn, but it's looking very good for us. Katsu unfortunately can't cover the breakpoint with Mounting Anger, so we are going to pick up and banish our Phoenix Flame. Phoenix Flame here presenting lethal. It's going to get blocks from Katsu. This Snatch is unlikely to kill, but it is likely to hit. So we'll draw a card to stick into our arsenal and come back and kill Katsu with a 5-card hand. Drawing into a starter here is just great. As far as sequencing goes, it really doesn't matter. We have Brand, Bittering Thorns. Phoenix Flame is going to be enough to kill. I might have liked to see leading with Blue Brand, then following with Yellow Brand, pushing Yellow Brand up to a 3 block, which Katsu potentially doesn't have. 1-2-2 here is a little more efficient for Katsu to block than 1-3-1, but again, ultimately it doesn't matter. Katsu can't cover all of this damage. And he realizes it, gives us the good game and the concession. So this was a quick one. Really everything did go into our favor. We won the die roll, we drew an early Art of War. That Art of War drew into 0-cost reds, which is exactly what we needed for it to find. It didn't draw into defense reactions, so this was really the best case scenario. And it is something that I want to work out more as far as sideboarding does turn order affect whether we are on Kadachi Momentum or Emberblade Pouncing Links. But this is at least a proof of concept that, contrary to what I've been saying in previous Katsu games or in my Witch Mask Q&A video, we can get a very explosive win with Emberblade Pouncing Links against Katsu, and very good FaB players who I respect have even said this is how they prefer to play the matchup, going first or second, just racing Katsu, using FaB's consistency as a way to leverage wins over Katsu's explosive potential that sometimes just doesn't come together. A good block from our end or a bad hand from Katsu can really set him back. And as opposed to FaB, who really can't draw too many clunkers, all of our cards mostly do the same thing. There were either 3 or 4 with Go Again. Katsu can absolutely draw into hands that don't work. They don't have natural Go Again. They're all blue. There are no 0 costs. It's way more possible for Katsu to brick than it is for us to do so. And with Pouncing Links, Art of War, possibly Spreading Flames, we can use that to our advantage. So I hope you enjoyed this game, and I hope you found it helpful. If so, head jab that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback, and I will be back tomorrow with more daily FaB gameplay. Until then, take care.